Please give a warm welcome to Gary Goodridge. Come on up, Gary. Here you go.
On the pony? Was it fun? Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good day, everyone. My name is Gary, as Norm said. This is my publicist, a good friend of mine, Mark, and we're gonna try to send us some information here.
Yeah, I'm Mark Dorsey. We figured it'd be easier if I asked Gary some questions to sort of lead him into some answers that might tell you something about his career and the brain injury that he's got right now. We've got a book coming out called Gatekeeper, The Fighting Life of Gary Big Daddy Goodridge. It'll be out in February 2012. You can also check him out at BigDaddyFightTeam.com. And I believe next week sometime we'll be posting a copy of a speech that he wrote for this. It's a little hard to memorize the speech, but he'll be posting some information about brain injury and dealing with the things that we're talking about right now. So Gary, if you want to just tell people where you came from, where you grew up. You weren't born in Canada, where you came from, and sort of how you ended up in this area, the Barrie area, although this is Orangeville.
Okay, well, I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, 1966, January 17th, and moved to Toronto, I'm believing back in 72, and from there we moved up to Barrie and been there ever since. So I lived in Toronto for a year and then moved to Barrie. Been in Barrie since grade 3.
And when you first moved, you were sort of an immigrant kid, growing up in sort of what you call a milky white community. What sort of things did you deal with having to move here as a kid that sort of created your mentality?
Well, you know what? When you move, like any other child, young child that grows up, moves into a place, you have, you have to get along. You have to try to blend in what's going on in your surroundings. So we had problems mixing at first, but just normal things fitting in to groups, and we realized that how everything was broken up into groups up here in Barrie, and that's just normal kid stuff,
And Gary talks about in the book a bit facing some bullying as a kid, standing out a bit, and also some racism. But in terms of how you got into sports, what sort of sports were you into early on, and what was sort of the first sport that really got you motivated?
I really liked, right off the bat, I really liked arm wrestling. I saw it on TV, and I saw these giant behemoths arm wrestling. I thought, wow, I can do that. So I started doing it, and I met a great friend of mine that we're still good friends today. I guess I met him at the age of 15, and like I said, we're still very good, close friends today. I played the normal football, rugby. I could never play basketball because I was always trying to play football with the basketball.
Yeah, and I've played basketball against Gary. He's not very good. This black guy can't jump. So anyways, you got into arm wrestling. Phil Stoppard was the friend that got him in, and actually we just found out, Gary just found out that he's going to be inducted into the Canadian Arm Wrestling Hall of Fame on Labor Day weekend, so it's a huge honor for him. He was a fighter for many years, but arm wrestling was really where he was world champion, 9-time world champion, 11-time Canadian champion. So he really took down some of the biggest pullers or arm wrestlers in the world. Now, before we get into UFC and that fighting, a lot of people don't know that Gary was a boxer for almost less than a year before he got into UFC, but he was quite successful nationally. So, Gary, how did you get into boxing, and what happened there?
You know, I was walking through Towers one day. I was walking through Towers, and I saw this, I was talking to a friend of mine, man, I really want to get into boxing. I feel like I got something to offer the world, and I just don't know what to do. So as I'm talking, a gentleman in front of me turned around and says, have you ever tried boxing? And obviously he was a boxing coach. I didn't know him at the time, but he's a great friend of mine today. He's in his 70s. His name is Norm Bell, and we started training his barns, this, that, everywhere. We started training. I don't know what we did, but we trained pretty good. And from the time we started to the time I stopped, I was a national champion in Canada, and had one international fight. I think it was all of 9 months. And now, in saying that, I wasn't the best boxer out there. I was just strong, and just my head was just always forward all the time, and I never quit. That was my mentality. So it went a long way with boxing.
Norm Bell, the old boxing trainer, very much like the Rocky character, the trainer that trained Gary. You know, they just riding the bike, yelling beside him and stuff. And Norm actually goes to, he has got a brain injury problem himself, so that's something that they still are able to share together to this day. But what ended your boxing career? Why not stay a boxer?
You know what? Actually, the boxing was the first time I ever got a concussion. And in boxing, I got a few of them. But the first time I ever had a concussion was through amateur boxing. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I just couldn't recollect on several things after a certain event. And looking back on it now and understanding what brain injury is now, I realized that was the first time I ever had a concussion. I was knocked out silly. I lost a lot of brain cells.
And so Gary kind of quit boxing, realized that it wasn't for him, a lot of headshots that he didn't want, but he ended up having a strange situation which pulled him back into fighting in the UFC. Gary, how'd you get into your first UFC 8 back in 1996?
You know what, I was at work, I was working at Honda Kinder Manufacturing, and friends of mine would watch the UFC on tapes, and you know, they'd talk about these guys fighting and this and that, and I always felt growing up that I had something to offer the world, or to offer, just I thought I had something more than just working at a factory at Honda. So they said, well, they told me about these fighting, the UFC's happening, this is going on, this is going on. I thought, wow, let me take a look at it. So I took a look at it for the first time, and I saw human cockfighting. That's what I called it now, but now my brain is more into it. It was fighting. It was just fun fighting, but at the time it looked totally barbaric and very dangerous to me. And so from there I started getting to know what's going on, what's happening, and started to think maybe I'll put my energies in that. That's what happened.
There was a lot of money and fame involved in that. And I know Gary had a lot of success immediately in the UFC, went down to Brazil and fought Vale Tudo, which is essentially no rules. This is long before they had the commission sanctioning these types of events. And then Gary, you want to tell us where you spent most of your career before you got into the kickboxing with a Japanese company called Pride?
You know what, about 99% of my career was spent in Japan. I spent a lot of time in Japan. Again, mixing the brain injury into what I'm trying to say is that how in Japan things aren't the same as it is here. Rules and regulations aren't the same there as it is here, as it is, I think, in many areas of the world. At the time, I was fighting quite often in Japan. I was making a good living. I left my job at Honda the day I went over there, and things started out for me. So in Japan, things worked. That's how, if I got knocked out this week, I could fight next week. If I got knocked out that week too, I could fight the week after. There was no regulations to stop things from happening. Now now that we know more about brain injuries and things of that nature, you get knocked out nowadays, you have to wait 60 days before you fight again, or even step in the ring. But the time when I was doing it, back in the olden days, there wasn't that. When you got hurt, okay, you got hurt, you got up, wiped yourself off, went on again.